Spectres, welcome back to another exciting week of the Mass Effect Lorecast. I am your host, In7 the Legend, and joining me as always is the wonderful, newly blonde Genesis.
I'm totally blonde now. Hi guys, how are you?
Okay, I don't sound like that.
No, you don't, and neither do I.
Deep lore, for anyone that doesn't watch the show on YouTube or Spotify, I'm blonde. Anyway, how's it going, Genesis?
I'm good. It's been a fun day today. So I'm in a good mood tonight. Things are good.
Yeah, I'm in a good mood today as well. My son had his first day at daycare. It went a little rough at first, but he got a lot of naps in. He ate just fine. And there's even a very cute photo of him playing with another child there. So very, very pleased about that. Anyway, we've got a hell of a show planned. Joining us today at the end of July are our patrons, Magister DeVita, Jeffrey, and Yukon. And why don't we just go around the horn and you can reintroduce yourself. Magister, how's it going?
Going well. Nice to see everyone in the place. Always a pleasurable time being on the Mass Effect Lorecast. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and we're glad that you're here. Jeffrey, how are you doing?
I'm doing swell. Jeff here, also known as Superfly. Glad I can be here. Glad I can make it. So thanks for having me.
Yukon, how's it going? I'm going to ask Edie to help patch our QEC through because we're not hearing Yukon right now.
That was my apologies. My headset was off.
Thank you, Edie.
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for the quantum entanglement fix on the fly. I always appreciate that. Happy to be here, and I can't wait to get into tonight's episode because this is right up my alley.
Right. So that being said, there's a perfect segue, by the way. That being said, we have to talk about some things that are going to ruffle some feathers. And if you're driving to work on Thursday, Friday morning, and you haven't had your coffee yet, well, open up your brain tank because here comes some high octane rage bait. Here it comes. We are going to be talking about the hottest Mass Effect takes. What are including the hosts, me and Genesis, what are our most unpopular opinions regarding this series? Now, I heard a little bit of Yukon's in the pre-show chat here, and if you mentioned that, I think a lot of people are going to be typing furiously at their keyboard. You might get some severed fish heads in the mail. I don't know quite what will happen, but I know that some people are going to be quite peeved about that, so to speak. Anyway, let's get to it. We're going to go through all of our most unpopular opinions, and then we're going to discuss them. So first up, Magister, what would you say is your most what is the opinion you have about Mass Effect that is going to have you standing at the edge of a blade?
Well, I have two, but the one that's going to have me standing at the edge of a blade is the green ending's the best ending.
Okay, green ending is the best ending. Tell me about the most heated argument you've been in about this, because I'm sure that you have before.
Yeah, the main thing is, and most of the points that you guys normally bring up is the fact that you can't trust the child, you can't trust what the Reapers are saying. Why is this choice coming up out of nowhere type situation there? And people really against the whole Reaper faction in general. And I get that. But at the same time, I feel that the fact that you get that ending in particular, and my apologies, I'm for some reason blanking on the name of it.
Synthesis.
Thank you so much. I was like, what is that? Synthesis ending. I feel like you have to put so much more work into achieve that. The fact that you have to literally bring the bring the universe to such a level of readiness. The fact that you have to show and prove that both human and AI can work together. Well, not just human, but species and AI can work together through the Quarian and the Geth. The fact that you're able to strike down multiple Reapers with the power of ingenuity, I feel like it's more of an olive branch than it actually is a form of trickery. I feel that because I'm the type of person who really loves charismatic builds when it comes to like any type of D&D or anything like that, role-playing game. And I like to think that the fact that you went the extra yard, you didn't just go ooga booga, smash Reaper, it gave you that option to have that.
But I like ooga booga. Anyway, I'm gonna play devil's advocate and try and put you on your back foot right now. We'll see if I succeed. How do you feel about the concept of singularity in our own world?
I think if it's handled well, the main thing is we see plenty of fiction that inspire fear about what can happen. And I believe that fear in both what we put out there as well as what the current AI are experiencing could end up inevitably causing the same like things that we worry about from film and media all the time. But I think if we actually get to the point where we're actually doing things the proper way, where we are actually investing in AI and AI is investing in us, I think it can cause a beautiful thing. I think that it would allow opportunities that we as a society would never have had before.
Would you get an AI computer chip in your brain?
An AI computer chip in my brain necessarily? Probably not.
Why not?
But more so that my own religious beliefs would be a bit against that. But at the same time, I didn't know what route you're going with there, with the fact that Shepard is putting that on everybody. But I feel like there's a different circumstances there. If I was in that universe, was dealing with everything that they had got the chance to experience, was discovering of aliens, was seeing the reaches of AI technology, I don't know enough personally to want to put myself through that. But if I knew what I knew from Mass Effect and seeing the benefits of what happens when a Quarian is able to have an AI assistance and different things like that, I'd be a lot more susceptible to that. Whereas compared to here in the real world and having Amazon in my brain doesn't seem very appealing.
Okay, give me your top reason, number one reason why that despite this potentially being an unpopular take, it is the right take.
Because when it comes to the destroy ending, you end up destroying, especially for Shepard, putting my mindset in Shepard themselves. Shepard strove to unify the galaxy. Whether you be alien, human, or AI, they strove for that. The fact that the destroy ending gets rid of potentially multiple different factions that you work hard to bring it together. The fact that by doing the destroy ending, you can cause the galaxy itself to be in a dark age, inevitably, because of the amount of destruction that it can accrue. And the possibility of what's the green ending, the synthesis ending, the technology that could be discovered, the seeing the potential health, the potential unification that can go forward with that, the understanding that could happen with that. It's a scary thing, but new changes can inspire great things.
Okay, all right. Very forward-looking, progressive take on, and I mean that progressive in terms of the definition, not the political circumstance. Anyway, I want to hear from everyone else about how they feel about Synthesis being the best ending.
I personally agree with you, Vita. I think Magister got it right. I think having that consensus and everything. I mean, you in the pre-show chat, excuse me, talking about the server you in for DayZ, kind of proves his point of we need some sort of consensus on everything. And I think Synthesis kind of helps get us towards that. Not necessarily makes it concrete, but it definitely it gets us further towards that consensus of everyone agreeing on something, which is kind of hard to come by today, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
We're in a society now where everything is, I don't mean to get political, but we're in a society now where everything seems to be extremely polarized, and Mass Effect was kind of on the forefront of that, where everything was really polarized, and even going into some of the forums, even just Reddit, where it's like, this is the way it has to be. This is the way it has to be. I think Synthesis is kind of one of those things that brings everything together, where everyone is getting to that point of, how do I say it? Kind of a kumbaya type point. You know
Now,
what I mean?
Since you agree with him, I'm also going to play devil's advocate with you, Jeff. Is it right to forcibly enforce the kumbaya mindset? Do the ends justify the means? Because we've heard that somewhere else before.
I see exactly what you're doing there. And in this case, yeah, I think it does, but I don't believe that we should force anything upon anyone. But I don't know if this is really forced so much as kind of what's the term? I'm trying to collect my thoughts while talking at the same time, but I think it is one of those things that's everything kind of accumulates to that point.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. It's the climactic moment. Genesis, I've seen you with your mic right next to your mouth. I know you're ready to speak on this. What are you thinking?
So Synthesis was the first ending that I picked because I thought it was the right one, that it was the good ending, that it was the best way to go. Only because it's like you did have to work towards it. You did have to do all these extra things. And so it felt like it was going to be the best option. And then you watch in the extended versions, you get to see how much it did benefit people, and how, Edie gets to stay alive. There's a lot of positive outcomes that come with the Synthesis ending. But just because it was that way doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right choice. The Mass Effect endings are so personal to everybody that it's like we will all defend our own choice as the right choice. And so I think that's why it's Magister's unpopular opinion, is because, only the people who agree with him are going to agree with him. I don't like the Synthesis ending anymore, only because I know what the Destroy ending for me is going to be the best one, because there's that glimmer of hope that my Shepherd can live on. And with Synthesis, you know that they're dead. My thoughts are like, I understand why this is your hot take, why this is your unpopular opinion.
Okay. All right. Yukon, what do you think of this about Synthesis being objectively the right ending?
I agree with it wholeheartedly, 1000%. This is the correct ending. I view it as my headcanon ending as well. My issue with arguments against Synthesis are that they're all kind of centered around one person making a decision for the masses. My counter to that would be, if you cured the genophage, then you should be okay with the synthesis ending, because we know from in-game media that there are Krogan who believe that curing the genophage will make Krogan weaker, and that they're evolving past it already at this point, even after the alterations being made to it the first time around. So knowing that there's at least a handful of Krogan out there that are against curing the genophage, and then as Commander Shepard, curing the genophage without handing out planet-wide surveys as to what the Krogan feel about it, you're making that decision in mass. You're choosing whether the Quarians and Geth achieve peace, or whether one of those races goes down in a ball of fire. The entire series is based around Shepard making decisions for the entire universe, and all of those decisions are viewed as okay until we get to the synthesis ending. Even choosing the control ending, you're enslaving a synthetic race. If you choose the destroy ending, you're committing genocide on any synthetic life in the universe. So any ending that you pick is Shepard making the decision as a singular authority over the entire universe.
So I would counter that with that when you cure the genophage was only affecting Krogan as opposed to every sentient race, and also that most of Shepard's Paragon decisions are about the preservation of free will of other species. Whereas if you choose synthesis, you are making an executive decision at the cellular level for every single sentient species, not just one species or another, but as I put it earlier, a forcible kumbaya moment. I'll ask you this. Do you feel like synthesis is the right ending given what the catalyst says to us?
I think if we are to assume that the catalyst is misleading us in any way, then that probably extends across all three choices, right? For all we know, we can pick the destroy ending, and what plays out on our screen is just a hallucination or some sort of indoctrination, and the Reapers aren't actually destroyed. So taking everything at face value, that what he's saying is accurate and it's not secretly divisive or misleading, then I think synthesis would then be equated to enlightenment, which, according to philosophy, is the highest level of evolution for sentient beings.
All right. Well, I think we've covered the synthesis hot take enough. There's probably dozens, if not hundreds of people at any given moment screaming at their stereo saying, absolutely not, no way, synthesis, out of my life now. But we got to move on. Jeff, are you ready to give us your Mass Effect unpopular opinion?
I am, but I'm almost afraid to because of what it is. So I actually liked Andromeda, is kind of my hot take, my unpopular opinion, if you will.
Get him!
I think it adds a lot to the lore of Mass Effect, and I think the gameplay itself is a lot of fun. I like the being able to mesh these different what do you call them? The soldier and you can mesh the soldier,
the class,
tech, and the classes. Yeah, the different classes, you can mesh those, and I think that adds a lot to the gameplay, as well as the lore being it's in a different galaxy 600 years in the future, and being able to look in the past and see how the different characters react to, the Reapers have attacked, but they don't know the Reapers have attacked. It just kind of gives those vague details that you get from the game itself. I think that Mass Effect Andromeda is better than most people give it credit for, and that's my hot take, if you will.
All right, Genesis, how do you feel about that one?
When I played Andromeda, I had immediately played 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order before I even looked up anything online about this game, before I read anybody else's opinions, before I knew what the internet as a whole had come to the conclusion as. And I really liked Andromeda. I didn't have any issues with it because I was able to go, okay, I'm now playing as Ryder. This is no longer Shepard's story. It's a complete side tangent from where the original 3 games were, and now I'm on another game. And so then once, I replayed the going through everything for a second time, and then that's when I started, trying to figure out, okay, is there more to the story that I haven't figured out yet? What else is going on here? And that's when I started looking on the internet, watching YouTube videos, watching people reacting to the game, finding the lore cast, and then finding out, oh, wow, a lot of people don't really like Andromeda. I wonder what the problem was. So, no, I think that the internet told us that Andromeda was not a good game. We didn't form our own opinions on it first.
So you think it became basically the creed of of Mass Effect games, the butt end of a joke?
Yes, very Nickelback.
All right. Well, I actually like some Nickelback songs, but maybe that's my unpopular opinion about music.
We have listened to Creed together. I am fully aware.
Oh, yeah. I love Creed as well. One Last Breath. That's a great song. But okay. I'm going to open the floor here for anyone that wants to chime in about Andromeda being not that bad, being undeserving of the reception that it got. Does anyone disagree with that? Because last time we did this unpopular opinion thing, right? And he's talking about synthesis, and all of a sudden, all of you agree. So I didn't know if it was that unpopular, but is this one unpopular?
I disagree with it. I'm not a fan of Andromeda. And matter of fact, when you said Creed, I thought you were actually going toward Assassin's Creed, which I thought was apt because how it went from stealth game to really RPG, I stab you in the kidney and you don't die type situation. And I kind of viewed that as what Andromeda did. It made things a lot more it made things a lot more accessible, and I get that people want to do that in order to get a bigger crowd, a bigger audience. But I feel like it took a lot more of the crunch away, especially for example, the morality system. I'm a big fan of the morality system. I enjoy having those moments where Shepard was having deciphering whether he was going to do something really messed up or sacrifice himself for the greater good, or maybe something in reverse, like when it comes to Morden and the research notes. I enjoyed those conundrums, and I didn't feel that Andromeda had enough weight to that, but I get it. It's a different character. Ryder is a lot more of a free spirit. No, not necessarily a free spirit, but more about going out there, adventuring, all those things there. But I felt it took a lot of the weight away from even the heavier moments of Andromeda. I feel like it took a lot of the weight away from that by deviating from there. And also you can choose any type of class at any time and refund itself. I feel like that also took away from having that character that you're building into, whether it be the engineer, the adept, the soldier. If you could just mix and match at any time, it kind of takes away that I almost want to say replayability, because when I was playing it, I was just like, I was getting choice paralysis sometimes, and then at the same time, it was becoming more and more just ability soup. So I felt that Andromeda took a major step to the side, and it really took me away from it.
Like when you're at a restaurant and the menu has so many options that sound good that you know that no matter what you pick, you're just going to be focused on that soup you should have gotten.
Exactly. In the car. As you're driving away.
Yeah, that's right. I've been to Cheesecake Factory. So all right. Yukon, how do you feel about this? Was Andromeda as deserving as its bad rep as everyone gets, or as everyone says?
I don't think it was as deserving, basically getting sent to hell as the worst game ever created. If I had to put it in a ranking system with the 3 games from the original trilogy, I do think it would come in 4th. I don't think it was better than any of the original trilogy games, but I'll defend Andromeda that it wasn't a bad game. What kind of takes away from it a little bit is that it's a little too collector Prothean-esque, with like the exaltation and everything like that. But when you dig into what went into creating that game and finding out that for a year and a half, there was no real direction of the game during development, and the only thing that they worked on was gunplay and the battle mechanics, which are the best in the trilogy. I would hope so. If that's the only thing they were working on for a year and a half. But understanding what they got done in like that last year kind of put it over the edge for me, where I was like, hey, this game's pretty good.
That's right. Yeah, I actually spoke with a former developer who worked on both the OT and Andromeda, and he told me at that time that they had spent so long, narrative-wise, deciding just how many planets there were going to be, and that just that hiccup alone, that they had started very wide, like close to 1,000 planets. They wanted to do something like Starfield ultimately did. But then they realized that most of the planets would be empty, so they whittled it down to a few hundred, and then a few dozen, and then ultimately what we got, just several. And he felt as if that decision alone, if they had just gone with several from the get-go, that they could have fleshed out a lot more stories throughout a lot of those different planets and made it feel more alive. Maybe we would have gotten more of those moments of gravitas, like you mentioned, Magister, and that is one of the primary criticisms of Andromeda, right? That its writing did not have the space opera element of the original trilogy. Jeff, how do you feel about that?
And going off of that space opera thing, I think that it was a positive direction. Not that I'm going against the space opera thing. I love that about Mass Effect. But taking it in a different direction and a different turn kind of made it more, gave it a fresh feel to it. And on Magister DeVita's point of having the Renegade versus Paragon system, having more of a gray note to the morality of it, I think adds to its quality, because we live in a very grayscale world. I think that was more realistic, that, you know, every decision you make is not going to be imperatively bad or imperatively good. It's going to be kind of in between the two. And that's what I really appreciate about Andromeda, was that level of gray that we get with it. And that's what I really appreciate about it, is it was not as, it was more nuanced than the Mass Effect original trilogy. Not that I'm bad mouthing the Mass Effect. On Yukon's original ranking of it is definitely 4th, but it is much more nuanced, in my opinion, than the original trilogy was, where everything's good or everything's bad, if you get my take.
Yeah, and that was born, if I remember right, out of the Old Republic's light versus dark side mechanic, for those OG BioWare fans who might have recognized it. But yeah, it definitely took it in a different direction. For me personally, I felt the writing, the dialogue specifically, got a little bit too much CW, if that makes sense. a little bit too much young teen drama going on. But you know what? It's video games. Who do you think is playing video games? So maybe I should get over myself. But with that, I'm sorry. I was going to take us to the mid-break, but I see that Genesis here has something to tell me.
Well, yeah, because you brought in the whole CW about the dialogue and everything. I'm sorry, but Andromeda has steamier and a little bit sexier options when it comes to their romance options. You get half a side boob with Ashley and Liara and ME1.
And one that I'll never forget, but go on.
Have you seen Cora Harper's video?
Oh, yes, I have. Pixelated nipples and all. Have you seen Andromeda, or have you seen in Andromeda Jaw's gills wheezing video?
Oh, I've definitely experienced more than just a few gills wheezing.
Anyway, if you want, I'm not even going to go there. Anyway, go look up Jaw's video. We're going to go to the mid-break. We'll be right back.
We have beef, we have bacon, we have beer. The foods of my people.
Young men have funny ideas of what Asari are like. I blame the extranet and computer games.
Rex? Shepherd. Grunt? Shepherd. Rex? Grunt?
All right, and here we are in the middle of the show where normally we read out your 5-star reviews. You can leave them on Apple. You can also write us some comments on the most recent episode on Spotify. And if I see those, I'll try and grab them and throw them in here in the middle of the show. But I didn't see any new reviews. Genesis, did you see any new reviews?
No, didn't see any new reviews for this week.
That's right. All right. Well, I don't think that we have anything else for this mid-break plan. No sound effects, no planet cards, because I'd rather be talking with our patrons. So with that, and by the way, we are Twitch affiliates now, so please come on, swing by, say hello, see the live show. Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's enough plugging. We'll get back to the show.
After time adrift among open stars, along tides of light and through shoals of dust, I will return to where I began.
Solarian reproduction different, very little sex drive. If intended to try human, would try you. Ow, my pancreas.
All right, we are back with more Mass Effect hot takes. Genesis has another issue with me. I didn't expect the hottest takes of mine to be non-Mass Effect related.
Okay, so the one big thing that we especially want to do on Patreon chat night is to shout out and thank our patrons. So shout out to our Tier 5 Shepherd, our Tier 5 patrons, Ed Boy, Kira C, Lieutenant Tessino, Retrobot, Superfly 440, Unfortunate Benefactor, and William. And our newest patron for joining in, Tadega. Thank you oh so very, very much. And this is why Mom is here, to make sure that things run smoothly.
For shame, I am a bad host. Anyway, I'm going to blame it on having a newborn. But that's such a catch-all excuse. If you got a newborn out there, just if you mess up anything, be, I got a newborn. Anyway, people will forgive you. They might not forgive me. But anyway, then now that I've spilled the secret sauce, Yukon, help me out here. What's your hot take?
Yeah, nice, thanks. So my hot take is that the Illusive Man, as we know him, is often viewed as the worst person in all of the Mass Effect universe. I kind of believe the opposite, or at least I believe that.
Wait, do you believe he's the best person?
No, that's why I was self-correcting. I didn't want Genesis to start yelling at me too. I don't believe he's as bad as he's portrayed to be. It's kind of he's kind of come to a point in Mass Effect, not necessarily Mass Effect lore, but like Mass Effect fandom, to just know that like the Illusive Man's a bad guy and you hate the Illusive Man because he's the bad guy. But as we've learned, as things have progressed in the Mass Effect universe, and through various side media, that the Illusive Man, Jack Harper, was actually indoctrinated long before Mass Effect 3, where we see him getting implants through various surveillance videos. He was indoctrinated before the start of Mass Effect 1. So to me, what that means is that as we know him, as the Illusive Man, we don't know him to have an opinion on anything or make a decision about anything that potentially is not influenced directly by the Reapers. And what better person to use to try to divide humanity against the rest of the universe, and even humanity against itself, than the Illusive Man. He's kind of just a distraction, so to speak, used as the distraction by the Reapers during our build-up to that ultimate war.
So, do you feel like the Illusive Man, aka Jack Harper, is a little bit of a two-faced situation, whereas he's a Two-Face Harvey Dent situation where Harvey was this white knight who fell from grace and embraced the dark side, so to speak?
I think that could be the case where he started out just trying to secure a stronger hold in the universe for humanity and advance humanity technology to maybe meet that of our otherworldly counterparts. And then as things moved along, indoctrination sets in, those ideals maybe become more radical, like I said, in an effort to push him to be that chaos agent or that disruptor. I think a big indicator of this, if you play through the trilogy, especially starting in Mass Effect 2 when you're privy to having interactions with him, you can see how he goes from being a little bit more calculated, a little bit more cool, calm, and collected, to Mass Effect 3, a lot of outbursts, a lot of rage, a lot of frustrations and anger, which were displayed to us when you're reading through the Mass Effect novels. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head right now, but as
Paul Grayson.
Yes, Paul Grayson. You can see as Paul Grayson's going through the indoctrination process, he becomes more aggressive and more outward outbursts until finally achieving that point where he's fully indoctrinated, just like the Illusive Man at the very end of Mass Effect 3, where he can only have small moments of clarity. And the Illusive Man, in his small moment of clarity, if Shepard has played the game in a way that would dictate it gets to that point, uses that last moment of clarity, just like Saren did, to commit suicide.
Okay, so Illusive Man, Jack Harper being the original person, the Illusive Man maybe his persona after indoctrination. I'm going to open this up to the floor. Is Jack Harper really that bad? Is the Illusive Man really that bad? Or perhaps we are only seeing the Reaper's reflection in him?
So I agree with you, Con. I think he's a victim of circumstance. I think that he was definitely trying to do the right thing, but definitely went about the wrong way to do it. And I think UConn's kind of on hitting the nail on the head here with that kind of notion of he's imperfect but trying to do the right thing, and is, I don't want to say an anti-hero, but because he is a villain, but the whole getting more aggressive as he becomes more indoctrinated does play a role into how he responds to everything. So I do think he is one of those victim of circumstances, if you will.
So I hear what you're saying, that, he didn't start off with these evil intentions, but the road to evil, right, is paved with good intentions. And I see you nodding over there, Magister.
I mean, I feel like this is the great debate about killing a certain vegetarian painter when he's a baby. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, he started off, maybe started off as a decent person. I don't know. Jack Harper was a mercenary. Who knows what he got up to in his off time and everything like that, or while he was getting his training or whatever else he was doing beforehand. He snowballed what's the humanity first situation, and we know that Cerberus has done countless atrocities. Countless. And he might have started off at a good place, but he surely ended up being probably worse than a vegetarian painter. So at the end of the day, he might be at the beginning, but I don't subscribe to that. I think that if you have that kind of mindset, like, people nowadays have the mindset of it's us versus them, and we're going to get ours. And I feel like that's just such a selfish. Like, I get it where it's coming from, but I can only see it ending up just like it does after a while.
So I do want to jump in here and kind of press UConn on the lack of pre-indoctrination lore that we get about Jack Harper. Explain to me why you feel like Jack Harper was not that bad of a guy when we just straight up don't learn that much about him before indoctrination?
Yeah, so to clarify, I'm not saying that he wasn't that bad of a guy. I'm just trying to look at it from the angle that all we know concretely about him, 98.5% of what we know about Jack Harper, or even as the Illusive Man, because initially we don't know that he's Jack Harper, only exists in the vacuum of him being indoctrinated. And we know that as fact. So knowing that he's indoctrinated and looking at it through that lens, we can now or at least attempt to articulate, like I'm trying to do here, that the decisions that he's making are not solely his own. So then we have to question, if the decisions he's making aren't his own, then is that really his personality or his persona to be as extreme as he is? If you think back to, I forget what that base is that you land at in Mass Effect 2, I think it is. You shouldn't be here. Turn back now. And the entire research facility is indoctrinated because there's one of those orbs buried underground that winds up exploding. Just the power that indoctrination has lets me look at things through a slightly different light, that what we know of him and what we see of him, even his finding and reconstructing Shepard, could all be at the will of the Reapers.
Sure, yeah, it's really hard to pinpoint exactly when the Reapers take majority control, right, of his decision-making, his upper-level faculties. We do know, of course, that the more aggressive the hold of indoctrination is, the less capable the subject becomes. So with people like Saren and the Illusive Man, the indoctrination was a very long and subtle process, changing things at the level of a thought. So it's very hard to differentiate those. Retrobot, you've joined us. I want to hear your thoughts on this. And Yukon basically explaining to us that, as he said, almost all of what we've perceived about the Illusive Man has been in the vacuum of while he may have been indoctrinated.
Yeah, I understand the viewpoint behind that. I just think that we got to keep in mind that we only really view the Illusive Man in the games from Shepard's eyes. And really up until end of second game, really third game, Shepard has a very kind of black and white perspective on good and evil. And really, depending on your options in the game, you really only come to see the Illusive Man's behavior as either like bad or just dismissible as a way to reach something good. So I don't think Shepard fully understands, at least in the second game when you meet him, the morality behind the Shepard Man. Well, behind the Illusive Man. Sorry, not Shepard Man. Yeah.
I guess that brings up a really great philosophical argument about is Jack Harper accountable for the actions of the Illusive Man? Even if he is indoctrinated, how would you litigate this in a court of law? I'm sorry, my client was indoctrinated at the time. Well, was he indoctrinated fully? To what degree was he indoctrinated?
Because I feel like the Illusive Man, at least in the beginning, is like a pseudonym for Jack Harper. And you see almost like, at least in the comics, you see this whole kind of like Batman, Bruce Wayne sort of thing. Like, who's the true identity? Is Jack Harper the real human you're seeing, or is the Illusive Man? And like the line between those blur just based on how he, like his personality shifts and how he views his morality of, well, I got to do what I have to do to defeat the Reapers.
And that's part of where I come in, where I feel like the Reapers target those for indoctrination that they identify with having extreme beliefs, people that they can manipulate, not planting beliefs that weren't otherwise there. Otherwise, they could just use them as a husk. But rather using almost like a moral judo, using the subject's momentum, their morality, or rather lack thereof, against them, and pushing them into extremism that they already kind of had that tendency to go toward. it's hard to say with the Illusive Man specifically because he founded Cerberus after being exposed to the Reaper artifact. But this is a really fascinating topic. So, Yukon, thank you for bringing it up. I do want to jump over to you, Retrobot, to hear your most unpopular Mass Effect opinion. What has gotten the most amount of rabble rousing when you've brought it up online?
Okay. So obviously I joined late. A bit of a emotional day at work, but so like just stop me if someone's already said this, but I believe Liara is a bad shadow broker, and the games would have been a whole lot more interesting if Arya T'Loak became the shadow broker.
Ooh, okay. Zesty. Walk me through this thought process.
In the games, if you never really decide to become close to Liara, she's really not that interesting a character. She just seems like some kind of like weird kid that's weirdly obsessed with Shepard just because he's had contact with these Promethean devices. So like if you never form a relationship with Liara, she just sort of becomes a shadow broker out of nowhere, and she's just like, Shepard, I'm really into you still. I'm the reason you're still alive. And it comes off as sort of this whole weird stalkerish. And like I feel like Arya T'Loak overall as a character, like if you never look at Liara, Arya is a lot more rounded out as a character, so it makes sense for players who never really interact with Liara for Arya to be the one who becomes the shadow broker.
Okay. Would you not be concerned about Arya's utilization of the resources as shadow broker, because she's the pirate queen? So it's not like she has a lot of altruistic goals in mind, whereas I feel like it's arguable that Liara does.
Yeah, but I feel like Arya, as a character overall, changes a whole lot more based on her interactions with Shepard than Liara does. Because I feel like Liara is just sort of like naturally sort of altruistic about how she goes about using her powers. Whereas Arya, depending on how you interact with her, and like some of the DLCs and missions you have with her, really changes some of her viewpoints about leadership and how to use power.
Okay, all right. I guess I can see where you're going with that, but you know what? My opinions, I want to suspend them for now. Let's open it up. I've seen a couple of our patrons shaking their heads in response to this. Jeff, how do you feel about Liara being a bad shadow broker?
Arya is going to be a hell of a lot more neutral than Liara would be, which from the first Mass Effects, the Shadow Broker is seen as being extremely neutral in its affairs, and Arya fits that bill to the nth degree. Like, she fits it perfectly to being extremely neutral, not getting not taking sides in any way. And that is the essence of the Shadow Broker. So I actually agree with Retrobot in this. I think he brings a great point in that Liara is a terrible shadow broker because she takes sides.
Okay, or maybe the shadow broker doesn't just not take sides, but supports both sides in a conflict, so that the shadow broker could intentionally destabilize.
What's the difference?
All right, Magister, how do you feel about this?
I ain't gonna come after my wifey like that. So definitely the thought that the term of altruistic came up for Liara. Mind you, we come into Mass Effect 2 walking into the room, and Homegrown's like, I will flay you with my mind if you do not do what I tell you to do. By the time you get to Liara, goes through a hell of a character arc, and mind you, I'm sure that's because Bioware was playing favorites, but she goes through a heck of a character arc through there. She goes from the bookish, very non-streetwise scholar in Mass Effect 1 to being basically a kingpin of a very popular Asari world of Mass Effect 2. And I think that by her becoming a shadow broker, she has both that wide base of knowledge, just random knowledge. She also has the more, yes, she does have a more moral set to her, but she's also been refined in the fire of the 2 years that Shepard has been dead. I think she makes a great shadow broker. And I don't think you want, especially in a war to come, a war against the Reapers, you don't want someone who's playing both sides. You want someone in the chair who's going to use those resources in order to help out the universe get ahead and actually survive, which Liara does. Which if Arya to Loke got up in there, man, we might be in trouble. So
All right, good point. Yeah, if Arya got in power, who knows whether or not, or to what extent, she would have secured Shepard's body away from the Collectors. Yukon, how do you feel about Liara being a bad shadow broker, or the possibility of Arya to Loke being a better one? Okay, I'm going to ask Edie to patch up this QEC a little bit.
I'll get professional one day, I promise. I'm going to add this to my list of 75 other unpopular opinions. I'd never even considered this, but I think this is going to rank pretty high up there for me. I believe personally that Arya is the biggest missed opportunity in the trilogy for more character development and a possible romance partner as well. And I think what really kind of sells me on this idea is the fact that when you have one too many drinks and you wake up on her couch and she kind of looks down at you as you're laying there next to her, kind of like, don't worry about it, I got you. That connection that you have right there that I could totally be making up in my mind kind of signifies to me that if she was in the position of shadow broker, I think things would still go favorably for Shepard, because I just have this feeling that she takes a liking to Shepard. In the beginning, he's kind of an annoyance, but then by the end, especially after taking back Omega, you're definitely an ally.
Sure, yeah, I can see that. I think Arya would scare me a little bit with that much power. Genesis, how about you? Would you want Arya with that much power?
I kind of like it. I kind of really like this idea, but mainly because I like seeing Arya in a seat of power, and I think that she would be able to grow it out even further. And it's not like the Shadow Broker was a good guy to begin with. He was the Yogg that was in power before him was pretty damn evil. He's not a good guy. And so for Liara to be taking that position, it then makes it so that way there's a nice shadow broker in play. And I don't know if that's really what the galaxy needs. I think the galaxy kind of needs a shadow broker who is willing to do anything and everything it takes. Yeah, okay, Omega is definitely going to get a power boost, but I think that Arya would distribute the wealth.
Well, I will play a little bit of devil's advocate and say that as Shadow Broker, I would think that Arya would act more like Mr. House from Fallout New Vegas. But maybe I'm alone in that. Maybe that's my unpopular opinion. I don't know. That being said, Genesis, it's come to this point in the show. You got to lay on us your unpopular opinions, your hottest Mass Effect takes. What could you say that could possibly piss us off?
Playing as a femshep through the Citadel DLC can really suck.
Okay, why?
If you are trying to roleplay it out that you don't have a romance in this game, and that's just not something you are focused on, hey, I'm focused on the mission. There's no time to build a romantic connection. That's not an option for femshep. If you, at the end of the Citadel DLC, you wake up next to your romance partner, that's great. But if you decide to not have a romance partner, you wake up next to Javik.
Oh, Inception Foghorn, not Javik.
Yeah, and he tells you there are some things organics are good at, and it disgusts me.
A little bit off topic, but do you think that Javik could use his telemetry to learn about your previous relationships?
Probably. And I could see how that could be beneficial. But if I have gone through the entirety of Mass Effect 3 choosing to not be with anybody and then have to be forcibly woken up next to Javik, because Broshep doesn't. He gets to wake up alone if he wants to. The only way that a femshep can wake up alone is if she romanced Thane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, missed opportunity making Broshep wake up next to Javik. That would have been weird.
That would have been awesome. I would then not be angry about the fact that Femshep has to wake up next to him. If it happened to Broshep too, fair game.
All right, I don't want to think about Javik's genitals anymore. You said in the pre-show chat, Genesis, that you had a backup unpopular opinion, just in case someone had stolen yours.
Oh, that Zaid is not that great of a guy. Everybody really likes him, but he's just old and angry and cranky, and he's cool, but he's not as likable as everybody makes him out to be.
You sound like you have met too many people just like Zaid.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm over it.
Yeah. Grizzled war vet. I know you.
Not a pointed comment.
I think he just reminds us of everyone's grandpa, and that's why we all love him, because he reminds us of our grandpa.
Maybe.
Yeah. I love my grandpa, though.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to possibly say the most infuriating one to the widest swath of people. Mass Effect 2 was the worst game of the original trilogy. I'll just go ahead and lay out my explanation. When Mass Effect 1, we're introduced to the plot concept of, okay, we're hunting down this rogue Spectre, and along the way, we learn that there's a much larger plot happening in the background where there are these sentient psycho machines trying to exterminate all life. And all of a sudden, Mass Effect 2 rolls around and, oh, by the way, you're dead, but you're resurrected again. And this time, you're fighting turd monsters. Sorry, collectors. And yeah, the Reapers are preparing and whatnot. That's still going on. But you know what? The collectors are kind of the big issue right now. So they're abducting entire human colonies, and we need you to form an A-team. Anyway, here's a bunch of money. Here's some resources. Go form your A-team, and that part is going to be like 90% of the game. So 90% of the game is recruiting people and then ensuring they're loyal. And then, like, how many missions do we actually have that are not recruitment, that are not loyalty missions? Like 4, 5? I don't know. It didn't take that long. I know that. So it's just a departure. It's a departure from what I feel is the bedrock narrative of Mass Effect, and then Mass Effect 3 rolls around and then brings us back on track. So I just feel like Mass Effect 2 is this weird kind of intermission almost that we could have had a meaningful second entry into that Reaper narrative. That's my justification.
Sam. In Mass Effect 2, when we're distracted from the Reapers the entire game, who are we taking orders from?
Okay, I'm going to walk into this one. Cerberus.
Who's led by the Illusive Man, who is indoctrinated.
That's right.
Then when we come back home to focusing on the Reapers, it's when we're back under the Alliance military.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're kind of proving my point here.
Because the Illusive Man is indoctrinated and they're telling him to tell you to chase after the collectors. Hence, maybe he's not that bad of a guy.
So, okay, so I see where you're going with that, like that there is a narrative explanation for that, but it doesn't mean that I all of a sudden like the narrative. Like, I still feel like we didn't need to go that route. We could have left the Alliance if that was still in the cards. We could have stuck with the Alliance, but either way, I just felt like Mass Effect 2 had the weakest narrative story of all of the Mass Effect trilogy. And I'm going to stick by that because Mass Effect 2 was 90% recruitment and 10% like advancing this Reaper narrative. We learned some very important plot points from it. Don't get me wrong, the character development is amazing. And by the way, before anyone jumps down my throat, the trilogy is still an incredible series of games. So being the worst of the trilogy, in my opinion, is still like better than 98% of video games. Anyway, that's my unpopular opinion, and I would love to hear some of yours. If you're listening to this right now, if you think that you have a Mass Effect opinion that is going to raise our eyebrows even higher than any ones that has been mentioned on the show tonight, then please go ahead and leave us a comment either on Spotify or YouTube, or you can leave us a review on Apple. But I believe that does it for tonight's patron chat. I just want to thank the patrons one more time for all supporting this show the way that they do. And we're going to go around the horn here and we can say our farewells and let us know what you're up to, starting with Magister. What are you up to and how can people get a hold of you?
Still up to a whole lot of nothing right now, but Magister DeVita on the Discord as well as the Patreon. And if you want to discuss about anything, whether it be tabletops or video games, do hit me up.
All right, sounds good. Jeff, how about you? How can people get a hold of you and what are you up to?
Not much, just like my good buddy Scott, who couldn't be here tonight because of power outage issues due to weather. But I am in the Discord if you want to talk Mass Effect, so just hit me up in Discord. Superfly440 is my handle on there.
Sounds good. Yukon, what you got cooking?
Just hanging out on the Discord. Anybody that wants to send any fish heads due to my unpopular opinions, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, Australia is my address. And just ping me in the Discord if you have something that you want to talk about, and I will undoubtedly get involved in that conversation for sure. Anybody that's listening to this on Spotify or watching on YouTube, I'm sure in the link down below somewhere is a way to find our Discord. If you get into the Mass Effect Lorecast Discord and you throw some ideas around, like the idea that we're discussing tonight came from our fans in the Mass Effect Discord, throw an idea out there and maybe it winds up on the show.
Yeah, great point. Great point. We do try and engage pretty regularly with the community. Retrobot, what do you got cooking, and how can people get a hold of you?
Just busy with work. Almost missed the stream tonight because of it. Otherwise, I'm just Retrobot on the Discord and Retrobot on Patreon. If anyone wants to talk about anything Mass Effect or anything else.
And I just noticed you're wearing your Geth Armory t-shirt from the Patreon. That thing looks sweet. A lot of people don't realize this, I think, but Genesis and I, and Tom too, we never got access to those t-shirts from the Tier 4 Patreon. So I'm a little bit jealous of some of those designs. Genesis, I know that you've got some other shows that you work on. What does the next week look like for you, and how can people get a hold of you?
I think Sam forgets the fact that I was a patron for 3 years, so I have all the shirts he never got. Sucker!
Okay, but you're disregarding the new set that we're going to release, but go on.
That's true. Maybe I'll re-sign back up for the Patreon just to get the shirts, because they are actually really good shirts. They're comfortable as well. But if you would like to hear more from me, you can check me out on the Two Girls, One Ship podcast, where we analyze, rate, and review all that the world of video game romance is, including all of the Mass Effect romances, spanning back to like episode number 1, because we started that show talking about Liara in Mass Effect 1. And then episode 2 has Sam talking about his favorite Ashley. You can also check out the Cyberpunk Lorecast. If you love things Cyberpunk, we talk everything Cyberpunk over there.
Right on. All right. Well, that does it for this week, Spectres. Tune in next week. Genesis and I still have to huddle about what exactly we're talking about next week, but I will tell you this. It's going to be related to corporate lore. We're going to try and wrap up that sub-series on lore, but I believe we have maybe a couple more episodes in store. All right, Spectres, until next time, we should go. Thanks for listening to the Mass Effect Lorecast. Reach out to us on Blue Sky, Twitter, Discord, Patreon, or email us at masseffectlorecast@gmail.com.
Join us next week for more lore. Same space, same time. Or check out our live streams at twitch.tv/Mass Effect Lorecast.